Oh,
I would never want to sleep in, which is good because being a teacher, you never really get to. After all these years, I have to say I still look forward to going to school. And I'm pretty sure the kids do too.
Ask your doctor today about Vioxx and find out what Vioxx can do for you.
My doctor prescribed Vioxx and I stayed with it.
Vioxx.
What you just watched isn't normal. Drug ads are actually pretty weird. If you showed this video to someone in another country, they'd be shocked. There are only 2 countries in the world that allow pharmaceutical advertising, those being New Zealand and the United States. There are 195 countries in the world and only 2 allow pharmaceutical advertisements. Think about that. This pretty much makes drug ads a uniquely American experience. I'm sure many of you can think of a time when you turned on your TV and flipped to your favorite channel, just to be greeted by a drug ad. In the United States, an average of 80 pharmaceutical advertisements are aired each hour. This makes drug ads the most frequent form of health communication Americans are exposed to. And these ads are an example of direct-to-consumer advertising, which is exactly how it sounds. It is the advertising of pharmaceutical products directly to consumers as patients. And pharmaceutical products can be promoted through many different types of media like magazines, newspapers, or over the radio. But my focus is to educate you on televised drug ads, because they are shown to be more effective than printed media. Now, these ads come with both risk and benefits, and it's a widely debated topic with pretty strong arguments on both sides. Some say that these ads may be beneficial because they can lead patients to have deeper conversations with their physicians, which may ultimately help them gain a better understanding of their own health. These ads may also lessen the stigma around certain medical conditions like mental health disorders. But there are consequences of this constant marketing by an industry that has more of a hold on us and our doctors than most recognize. Now that we've gotten the potential benefits out of the way, let's talk about how drug ads can be harmful to the health of American citizens. I have a cozier relationship with the healthcare industry than most people my age. I've spent most of my life trying to navigate chronic illness while trying to maintain a somewhat normal lifestyle. And I can promise you, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I spent the spring semester of my junior year doing distance learning because my health became worse than ever before. I had multiple doctor's appointments each week, and I began to fall behind in my classes. I didn't feel like myself. I felt disconnected. My friends were asking me why I wasn't at school, and I honestly didn't have a good answer. My doctors didn't have a clear diagnosis for me at the time, but I still left every appointment with a new medication to try. I was always hopeful that it could give me some type of relief, but we quickly began to realize that this was not my fate. At one point, I was on 8 different medications at the same time, and today, I'm on 0. Let me tell you why. In August, I traveled to Cincinnati Children's Hospital, where I was diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy. And this is an extremely difficult condition to treat because it causes the brain to send unnecessary pain signals to the body, which pretty much makes it untreatable. And while it was kind of scary to listen to my doctors tell me that I was going to experience this chronic pain for the rest of my life, I felt a sense of relief. My days of feeling like a guinea pig were over. I was no longer a test subject to combinations of medications that were causing more harm than good. And these personal experiences have made me particularly passionate about one area that I researched, and that's the overprescription of pharmaceuticals. Drug ads can promote overprescription because they encourage viewers to talk with their doctor to see if a medication might be right for them. And many follow through with this suggestion. Patients go to their doctors requesting a medication they saw on an internet pop-up or on TV. And this can place a strain on the doctor-patient relationship. Many doctors become pressured to prescribe a medication that may not be the best fit for their patient. A study showed that 23% of patients would look for a new physician if their current one denied their request for a prescription medication. And I'm not standing up here to tell you that all medications are bad. In reality, there are many drugs that save lives on a daily basis. We as Americans just have to remember that drug ads tend to medicalize everyday aches and pains and prompt us to seek medication for almost every symptom we may have. Another way that these drug advertisements can be harmful is that they can present incomplete or biased information. What if I told you that the drug advertised at the beginning of my presentation killed thousands?
The FDA has suggested that people taking Vioxx face twice the risk of stroke or heart attack. If you or anyone you know has experienced problems while taking Vioxx, call now for a free consultation and find out what your rights are.
In the the early 2000s, Vioxx was put on the market and it was believed to be superior to other painkillers. The FDA approved Vioxx to be prescribed before its long-term safety was determined. Now, a number of patients on Vioxx began experiencing heart failure. And after being on the market for 5 years, a study was done that showed that it did in fact increase this risk. By the time Vioxx was pulled off the market, more than 20 million Americans had taken the drug. It is estimated that 88,000 Americans had heart attacks from taking Vioxx, and 38,000 of them died. This goes to show that not every medication advertised is safe. Vioxx was broadcasted to millions before the safety of the drug was determined. I don't know about y'all, but I think that's pretty scary. That's honestly terrifying. So, what does the pharmaceutical industry really want from Americans? Are they really creating cures, or are they creating customers? One of the most shocking statistics I came across during my research is that on average, the top pharmaceutical companies spend 3 times more on marketing than they do on research and development. That means that these companies are more worried about selling their products than determining their safety. But patients are not the only ones affected by this corrupt drug-pushing industry. Pharmaceutical companies also target doctors. I mean, it makes sense. Let's think about it. Who prescribes medications? Doctors. Without them, we wouldn't be able to receive prescriptions. So pharmaceutical companies send drug reps to establish strong relationships with doctors. They do this by giving away incentives such as complimentary meals or gifts. A former pharmaceutical sales rep at Eli Lilly said that he essentially wined and dined doctors. He took them out to fancy dinners in Manhattan and gave away tickets to baseball games and Broadway musicals. And this can easily divert physicians away from the scientific basis behind their job. And I'm not standing up here to make you skeptical of your doctors and question their every word. In reality, most of them devote their lives to finding the best care plans for their patients. But we just have to remember that it's extremely easy for both us and our doctors to be manipulated by this economically driven industry. So, while I was doing my research, I thought of all the times my doctors had prescribed a new medication before really knowing what my true diagnosis was. My concerns were often quickly dismissed at my appointments, and I would leave feeling unheard. I was silenced by medication. In the midst of this curiosity about whether or not any of my doctors had been persuaded by any particular drug reps, I came across the Sunshine Act. In 2010, the Physician Payment Sunshine Act was published under the Affordable Care Act, requiring all medical product manufacturers to disclose any payments made to physicians or hospitals. The data is collected annually and published into a public database. To view this data, you simply type in your doctor's name and you will be brought to their profile. You will be given an itemized list of every payment they received in the year. In 2021, this orthopedic specialist made a little over $9,000. Look a little closer, and you'll see that their largest payment was $8,000 for speaking at an event for a particular drug. The Sunshine Act is simply in place to increase transparency between doctors, patients, and drug companies. A study showed that 84% of physicians had some form of financial interaction with drug companies, which is a pretty large population. And the Sunshine Act is definitely a step in the right direction for Americans. With all this being said, the pharmaceutical industry truly does have a chokehold on Americans. We are often treated as consumers rather than patients, and that can make things a little bit more difficult for us. We have to look out for ourselves in an industry that was originally created to help us. I hope that I've all given you a better understanding of how unique the United States is when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry. Next time you see a drug ad or a prescribed prescription medication, think a little deeper about that interaction and ask yourself, is the pharmaceutical industry really creating cures, or are they creating customers?